Hi, Jose. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, my pleasure. I'm connecting from Madrid. This is the background of the City Hall of Madrid, Spain. And it is a pleasure to be with you and actually to have seen you in Madrid a few days back.
Well, that's great. Yes, I attended the Singularity conference there, even though my Spanish is not that good, but I really enjoyed, getting out and going attending an event, after kind of like a year of lockdown. But it's amazing that how you're actually involved with a lot of things that are kind of like I would say changing the humanity towards the positive way. So if you can introduce yourself and what you do, so then the audience also know you better, and then we go from there.
Oh, sure. It is my pleasure. I am living in Spain for the last 5 years. Before that time, I was actually in California. I was in Silicon Valley. And before that time, I was in Japan. I was 3 years in Tokyo. And before that, in many other places. I was born in South America, in Venezuela, studied in MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in Cambridge, Massachusetts, also in Georgetown University in Washington, D.C., and also in the Business School of Europe, INSEAD, in Fontainebleau. Right now, I'm working on biotechnology mostly. That is my focus now. And I am president of the future section of the Ateneo de Madrid that you can see above my face. And this is the main auditorium of the Athenaeum from Athens, from the culture of Madrid. Is the most famous, oldest scientific and cultural institution of Spain. It is actually celebrating 200 years, going through its bicentennial. And then for the closing of the bicentennial in October, we will have a futuristic conference called Transvision, the vision of the future to transcend human limitations. And we will talk about the future in general, the singularity, transhumanism, immortality, and many of those things, areas in which I work. In fact, with many different institutions, also internationally, I work with the Millennium Project, and I lead the group in Latin America and Spain and Portugal. And we talk about all the trends in the future, mostly technology, but also politics and environment, nature, demographics, economics, legal issues, ethics, etc., etc., etc. The Millennium Project began a quarter of a century ago in 1995-96 as the futuristic part of the United Nations University, the American Council of the UNU, United Nations University in Washington, D.C., to look at the long trends of humanity for the change of millennium, from the previous millennium to this millennium. And anyway, we look at all the trends, all the future, all the things happening, and we publish a book every year, which is called A State of the Future, The State of the Future, that I highly recommend. Just Google The State of the Future or Millennium Project, and you will get a lot of information. So as an engineer from MIT, from Massachusetts, I love technology, all the best technologies going into the future, and many things are going to happen in the next few years that are magic to our eyes today.
Well, that's really amazing what you do, especially about the humans going forward, and actually what has happened in terms of the state of the future. So I wanted to ask you, with what actually we went through last year in 2020 with COVID, where are we as humans right now, according to the study and the book that you release every year?
Yes, actually, the COVID-19 pandemic has been terrible, terrible. And the estimates is that there will be over 2 million more people dying this year. 2 million who died in 2020 because of COVID-19, and another 2 million dying in 2021. So it could be 4 million or more. However, in a historical sense, this is a very small pandemic, very small. The famous Spanish flu of 100 years ago, which was not Spanish, by the way, it actually started in the USA, apparently. But anyway, the Spanish flu, as it is called today, of 100 years ago, killed between 50 million and 100 million. The highest estimate is 100 million people who died of the Spanish flu. And the population of the planet at the time was not even 2 billion people. So imagine 100 million people who died of a population of 2 billion. That actually caused more death than World War I and World War II. You know, it's incredible. People don't realize it, but World War II, that it was horrible, and it caused the death of maybe 85 million people. But Spanish flu, 100 million people. So pandemics are even worse than worse many times. In any event, this pandemic has taught us a lot, and we have learned incredibly fast, and we are beating COVID-19 incredibly fast. Many people at the beginning thought, oh, this will never be resolved like the Spanish flu of last century, or it will take decades to get a vaccine, or even years to get a vaccine. Well, actually, we already have many vaccines in only a few months. And even more interesting, for the first time, the virus was sequenced in 11 days in China. Incredible, incredible. After it was identified in China, scientists sequenced the genome of the virus in 11 days and then sent by email the sequence of the virus to many laboratories in the world, like the Moderna laboratories in Boston, the USA, or the BioNTech laboratories in Germany. And in a few days, they created vaccines. Incredible. In a few days, in fact, the first Moderna vaccine was done in 48 hours. In 2 days, the first vaccine. And then human trials began that normally also take years for medical trials. And it was done in months. So this is really historic to sequence a virus totally unknown at the time when it appeared in 11 days, to have a vaccine in 48 hours, to have the human clinical trials in months, and to have many vaccines throughout the planet. I mean, this is fantastic. It is so incredible, and the technology is so fantastic. The Moderna and the BioNTech Pfizer vaccines use a new technology, which is absolutely incredible. It's like a flying vaccine because it is so new. And it is now being also used for cancer and for malaria. There are clinical trials to use the same technology, which is called mRNA, which is messenger RNA, to have malaria, cancer, and even possibly HIV/AIDS vaccine in the next few years. We have seen nothing yet.
Well, okay. Well, this is exciting. At least, you know, some good news about that. So, why do you think that that was the cause? Because of the advancement in technology, or it's just like humanity's transformation, or you know, kind of like, you know, we're evolving faster? What do you think that that was the cause?
Well, let me talk about the book of my dear friend Ray Kurzweil, who in 2005 wrote The Singularity is Near. That was a major bestseller, and it was the basis for the creation of Singularity University in 2009. Anyway, Ray Kurzweil, that I have known for many, many years, and who also studied at MIT. He's also an engineer from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. He's just publishing a new book called The Singularity is Nearer, because it is closer, it is nearer.
Before we get into that, for the audience that don't know what singularity is, if you can explain a little bit, and then we would love to hear about the books.
Yes. Well, the idea of the technological singularity is a time when technological changes are so fast, that they are really flying in a way. Just to give a better, more concise definition, we normally say the singularity is the time when artificial intelligence reaches human intelligence. So very soon, in fact, he talks about the year 2045. we will have an artificial intelligence that has the same power as all human brains together. But this will be fantastic because we will become more intelligent. We will improve our intelligence. We will augment our intelligence. And some people are afraid, and I understand. Some people think about the Terminator, Skynet. But actually, it's probably the opposite. Artificial intelligence will make us more intelligent. They will make us better. Like my friends, my friends normally want to be more intelligent. I want to be more intelligent. I like to be with intelligent people like you, Azam. Intelligent people. I like to be with more intelligent people to become even more intelligent. I want to have intelligent children. I want to talk to intelligent young people. So I am not afraid of intelligence. I am not afraid even of artificial intelligence, but I am afraid of human stupidity. Human stupidity. And that is the problem. We humans are very stupid and we are afraid of better things. We are afraid of artificial intelligence when it will make us better, more intelligent. So anyway, read the book, The Singularity is Nearer, or come to Madrid, where we will be talking about this in the Transvision conference in October, and how by 2045, we will reach the technological singularity and also immortality. Immortality. We plan to stop aging and reverse aging by 2045 at the latest.
Well,
Can I ask?
That's amazing. Yeah, for sure. Go ahead.
So yeah, I know some also guys who are talking a lot about singularity, and yes, you're right. It's when artificial intelligence will have the same brain power as a human. But what do you think? Will artificial AI has emotions, or it will be just more smart and faster than current computers? Or are you talking about emotions? Because we are humans, we are evolving. So all evolution, I think, because of humans and emotions that we want to like replicate ourselves with a better woman, right?
Well, first of all, my view and many singularitarians, we think that we are going to use artificial intelligence to improve ourselves. Like I wear glasses to improve my eyesight. I have electronic devices. I have a mobile phone because it improves me, it helps me, it enhances me. We use tools to improve, to enhance ourselves. So artificial intelligence will be the same. It will enhance us. This is not an invasion of Martians. This is not an invasion of ET. This is humans making things for humans, with humans, by humans, and with artificial intelligence. So therefore, I think we will become more intelligent. Like today, our computers, our telephone, mobile systems make us much more productive. I would say much more intelligent in a way. So I am not afraid of any of this artificial intelligence. Again, this is not something that is going to fight against us. The opposite, we are going to merge. We are going to improve. This is not Terminator. This is not Skynet. This is just the opposite. Us becoming more intelligent, more connected, thanks to artificial intelligence. So don't be afraid of this. Embrace it. It's the future.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Azam, I just want to ask you. So if we're talking about immortality, are we talking about digitalized immortality or physical immortality? Because in case artificial intelligence will be so smart that they can artificial intelligence, so we can just upload our brains, our like a personality into cloud storage, right? And our copy of our brains will probably live online, right?
We will actually have both. And by the same time, this is the forecast estimate of Ray Kurzweil. By 2045, we will have digital immortality and biological immortality. I covered that also in my book, The Death of Death, which is already in 3 languages. In my mother tongue, in Spanish, it just came out in Portuguese, and also in French. Also in French, different cover, different name, L'amour de l'amour. And it's coming out in Russian, Chinese, and Turkish by the end of the year, and next year in more languages. But going back to the death of death, I also talk about the 2 types of immortality: digital immortality and biological immortality. Ray Kurzweil gives 2 dates which are important: 2029 and 2045. 2 things will happen, both on the digital world and on the biological world. Let's talk first about the digital world, the software side, Ray Kurzweil says that by 2029, 2030, that is in 1 decade, we will pass the Alan Turing test. The Alan Turing test means that you will not be able to know if you are talking to a human or to a machine, to an artificial intelligence, in 1 decade. And then artificial intelligence will keep on improving, and we will actually connect our brains to the cloud, to the internet. Companies like Neuralink by Elon Musk are working on this, connecting our brain to the internet. And this will be possible in 1 decade, maybe a little bit more, until the year 2045, when Ray Kurzweil says that we will reach the technological singularity, which means this global artificial intelligence that we will be connected to our brains. If you want, we will be able to connect to this global artificial intelligence that will make us much more intelligent, artificially intelligent, if you want, but much better connected, much more intelligent. This is on the digital world, on the software side. Now, let me tell you what Ray Kurzweil says about the biological side, the hardware side. And the dates are the same, 2029 to 2030. We will reach longevity escape velocity, also sometimes called as the Methuselarity, or the singularity of Methuselah, who was the biblical prophet who lived almost 1,000 years of age. So in 1 decade, we will reach this longevity escape velocity, or the Methuselarity, which means that if we make it for the next 10 years, we will live enough to live forever, to live indefinitely, but still aging. Why? Because life expectancy is still increasing. Life expectancy in many countries already is over 80 years of age. 100 years ago, it was only 40 years of age. At the turn of last century, between the 19th century and the 20th century, we were average life expectancy 40 years. And if we go back further in time, at the time of the Roman Empire, it was only 20 years. Average life expectancy thousands of years ago was 20 years ago.
Wow.
A century ago was 40. Now we are reaching 80, and soon we will double it. Certainly by the longevity escape velocity Methuselarity of 2029, 2030. And then finally, we will reach immortality by the year 2045, according to my friend Ray Kurzweil. And I describe the steps and what is going to happen in my book, The Death of Death, in different languages.
Would that be genetically or?
Actually, yes. On the biological side, of course, not on the digital side, many things are being discovered. Some genetic treatments, gene therapies that are beginning, including CRISPR. But something even more incredible is what is called today cell or cellular reprogramming. And this is based on the research of a Japanese scientist who got the Nobel Prize in 2012, Dr. Shinya Yamanaka from the University of Kyoto. He discovered in 2006, and he got the Nobel Prize 6 years later in 2012, that changing 4 genes, only 4 genes, in skin cells of a mouse, that he could turn an old cell into a new cell again with 4 genes. Now, many scientists are working on this, and they are discovering that you don't need 4 genes, that even with 3 genes, you can do it now with mice. This is called, as I mentioned, cellular reprogramming or epigenetic reprogramming. And another biologist at Harvard, David Sinclair, at the medical school at Harvard, he actually did an incredible experiment that was published in December 2020 in the magazine Nature. In fact, it was the cover of Nature magazine in December, where he made blind mice see again. He returned the vision to blind mice through cellular reprogramming, through the Yamanaka factors. And this is kind of a gene therapy. So we know we can reverse aging, that we can cure aging. This is not science fiction. This is real science.
Oh, this is amazing, because we always hear that the humans are not even using 10% of their brain capability or intelligence. And I would confess to that, because a lot can happen in terms of productivity, and days by days I might not even use like 10% or even like 6% of my productivity. And I would love to have like half kind of like brain that could be operating with in machine learning or AI that could actually enhance that kind of capability for my brain. And it has it has a lot of great advantages, and I believe also it, as Anton said, I believe it has a positive impact on the emotional intelligence rather than a negative. But I would love to hear your view and that picture, obviously.
Yes. Well, of course, we would like to be more active with our brain capabilities. We have an incredible potential. And think about it. Hundreds of thousands years ago, we just discovered fire. Fire was one of the first discoveries by human, and we did it with this same brain. But still, we did not have a lot of technology. We did not have wheels or writing. We did not have alphabets until about 5,000 years ago. We did not have a printing press until a few centuries ago. And we are inventing, we are creating more things with the same brain. We still don't know the potential of our limited brain, which is very small. But things are moving very fast, and we are going through technological changes also because technology is changing exponentially. And behind me is the famous Moore's Law that Ray Kurzweil says it is even more than Moore's Law. It should be called the law of accelerating returns, because technology accelerates the returns of every different technology. And this is moving faster and faster. And we are using this technology to create the next technology and then the next technology. That is why we are advancing so fast and faster, because we keep on improving from the previous technology that improves on the next and the next and the next. So we will also be connecting our brains to this with Elon Musk company Neuralink and many others. There are many others. This is just one. Actually, there are many other proposals using, in fact, nanobots. Nanobots is also an interesting possibility. Instead of having electrodes, but injecting nanobots in the brain and many other things, also to communicate. I believe that very soon we will have the power to communicate telepathically. Basically from my brain to your brain, because speaking, what we are doing now is very inefficient, very slow, and very narrow bandwidth. Everything I want to tell you is in my brain, but I cannot transfer it to you. I cannot communicate to you fast enough, because talking is slow, is narrow bandwidth. In the future, we will have broad bandwidth. We have incredible speed, and we have unlimited memory, because it will not just be this small memory. It will be the whole of internet. We will have Wikipedia connected to our brain if we want it. Of course, this is not forced. If you don't want Wikipedia, you will not have Wikipedia in your brain. But if you want to have it and Google your brain, and remember when we recorded this, if we look at this video 10 years into the future, we might have Google brain or a Wikipedia brain. We will have many technologies that are still in the making or that are still unthinkable today.
Well, that's fascinating. So then language wouldn't be a hurdle anymore. It doesn't matter where you're coming from, what you are, what kind of even knowledge level wouldn't even be measured anymore. So then what would be the measure of, for example, hiring for people, or education, for example, or university or degrees? How are we gonna look at that?
Well, fantastic question, because indeed, your mother tongue is not English, right? Is Farsi, and my mother tongue is Spanish. And Anton, what is your mother tongue?
Belarusian and Polish.
Okay, so you see, we have 3 different mother tongues, and we are using English to communicate. In the future, it will be telepathic, and maybe we don't need a language. We will still have languages, but we might communicate more efficiently and without problems. So all this new world of technology, all the things we will be able to do to communicate, to imagine, to think about, unlimited memory, unlimited speed, unlimited knowledge, unlimited broadband, education, it is possible, like in the Matrix, that you put a chip in your brain, and then you learn mathematics, or you learn Belarusian, or you learn Farsi, or you learn Spanish. This is possible. This is possible. So I don't know what the future will be like, but I think it's going to be incredibly exciting. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fantastic. And we will go to Mars. This is one of my dreams. I want to go to Mars and many other planets. This is not just Mars. Even the moon, which is our near natural satellite, it could be an interesting place for a weekend. We could go and have a weekend on Mars. And to go to the moon, to Mars, we actually take a long time, sorry. We can go to a week to the moon, and maybe a few months or a few years to Mars. This is all possible. This is beginning. As you know, Elon Musk plans to send the first tripulation to Mars in 5 years. 5 years. Even if it is 7 years or 9 years, this is going to happen. This is going to be incredible. This will open our eyes. We might find life on Mars. We might find the small bacteria. We don't know what we will find, but it will be fun. It will be exciting. It will help us to grow as humanity, as civilization.
Okay, I have a question, Jose. If you're talking about in 10 years to be 10 billion people probably on the Earth, I'm not sure that all of these 10 billion people can afford all of these technologies. I guess only the richest people on the planet can buy immortality, can buy this unlimited brain power, and so on. What do you think? I think it will be a bit unequal.
Well, this is one of the things we study with the Millennium Project that I mentioned earlier began as part of the United Nations University, even though now it's an independent global think tank. And we consider these things which are important. But actually, I think all of these will be basically free and available to everybody. So the problem will not be cost. The problem is if you want it or not. Let me give you an example. Today, everybody in the world has a cell phone, a mobile phone, if they want it, because there are mobile phones from China and India at $10. So everybody in India, everybody in Africa who wants a cell phone has it if they want it. The genome, the Human Genome Project, when it began, it took 13 years to sequence the first human genome. 13 years, and it cost $3 billion. $3 $3 billion. Today, in 2021, you can sequence the human genome in a few hours for a couple of $100. And in 5 years, you will sequence your complete genome for maybe $10 in a few minutes. So technologies are moving very fast and everybody will have access to this. But the best example is the vaccines for COVID-19. Everybody will have access. Everybody will have access to the COVID-19 vaccines if they want it. Obviously, there are the anti-vaccines. They don't want vaccines, so they will not have it if they don't want it. But everybody will have these treatments because it will be basically free at the end, or they will cost like $20 like a vaccine.
Provided that their governments that are not inept would provide that for the nations. Unfortunately, I hope that it would be kind of like a global, initiative that all countries would get at the same time. But we see that obviously the richest countries are getting it at the first time. But this is fascinating. I really love the discussion. Tell us more about the Humanity Plus and what you guys do in research there.
Yes, well, Humanity Plus used to be called the World Transhumanist Association, and this is our yearly event. Every year we have a conference talking about the future and how humans use science and technology to improve the human condition. So how can we use genetics? How can we use artificial intelligence? How can we use robotics? How can we use space travel to live better? And in fact, all of these technologies are important. We learn many things from space travel. We learn many things from artificial intelligence. We learn many things from robotics. So transhumanism is the philosophy, the new philosophy based on the old philosophy of humanism, plus science and technology. Again, so transhumanism is the old philosophy of humanism with science and technology, so that we transcend human limitations thanks to the advances of science and technology. So Humanity Plus, as we are called now, I am the vice chair or the vice president of Humanity Plus, and that is why I am organizing the next conference in Spain in October, in the most important cultural and scientific place that will celebrate 200 years at the end of October this year. So all of you are welcome to be in person, because it will be in person, but also we will do live streaming. So you can also connect from wherever you are if you don't want to come to Madrid. But I am also so positive. I think COVID-19 will be almost out of most countries by October 2021. This is moving very fast. I already got vaccinated this week against COVID-19, and this is only moving faster and faster. And people still think linearly. They think, oh, it took 3 months for me to get vaccinated, so it will take 3 years until everybody gets vaccinated. No, this is exponential. My forecast is that in the next 3 months, most people, at least in the richer countries, it is true because it began in the richer countries, but most people who want to be vaccinated will be vaccinated in the next 3 months. Count them: April, May, June. By July, I would say most people in the advanced countries will be vaccinated. And in the other countries, they will be vaccinated in the following 3 months as well, because this is moving so fast. Production of the vaccines is growing exponentially. And people need to understand this. This is not linear. This is exponential. And the vaccines will be available for everybody, Also, in the poorer countries, as you probably know, they are free. They are being paid by the wealthier countries, are paying for the vaccines of the poorer countries. The same will happen with immortality treatments, with rejuvenation treatments. Because imagine if, for example, let's suppose the Japanese invent rejuvenation technologies for humans, and they probably will, because they already got a Nobel Prize for cellular reprogramming. Anyway, let's say in 10 years, they discover how to become younger. Do you think the Vietnamese will take it and they will be happy seeing that the Japanese become younger and that the Vietnamese keep getting older? No, this will be a global revolution. It could be World War III or 4 and 5 combined. So for the success of Japan, if they discover it, they need to share it immediately. But again, it will be almost free. Also, people ask me, how can this be free? I'll tell you very quickly. Based on first principles analysis by Elon Musk, Elon Musk says that you need to go to the very basic and to understand things at the very basic level. So what are you and what am I at the very basic level? You know what we are? We are water bags. This is what we are. We are a bag of water. We are 70% water. And we are not French Perrier water or Swiss Evian water. No, we are tap water. We are tap water, 70% of us. And the other 30%, which is not water, is the most common and abundant and cheap elements. We have, besides the hydrogen and oxygen, we have a lot of carbon, and we have nitrogen, and we have potassium, and many other elements, which are very cheap and abundant. A human being doesn't cost in chemical elements $100. So, Azam, you're very cheap. And so am I, all of us. We are not $100. And therefore, once we understand this at the very basic level, as Elon Musk would say, we can solve the problem. And we are cheap, and therefore, to keep a cheap machine like we are, alive and well, will be cheap. And nanotechnology will make it cheap. Because we are cheap, we are simple water bags. And a water bag can be cured, can be rejuvenated with a water vaccine that will be cheap.
Wow, awesome. It's really cool. I'm really very excited to live in this future. But what do you think? In case our virtual reality will evolve, and it will be more easy for us to talk with our neighbors by telepathy, and probably all interfaces also will become virtual. Like we will not have in future any screens, so all our screens will be inside our brain. So I guess all of us will start first or live in augmented reality, and then we slowly will move to fully virtual reality. So I'm not sure that we actually should go to Mars, or maybe we should go to Mars as a civilization. But most of people, they will live in their dreams, in their virtual reality, and they have no idea to go to Mars. Probably they want to go to Mars, but also virtually. It's important. It's a stupid will be to move their physical body to Mars, because they can just be connected to all these like cables and be sustainable, right?
Yeah, well, different people are different. The dreams, the hopes, the adventures, the future experiences of people are different. For example, Elon Musk is offering with a Japanese artist to take 10 people to go to the moon on a mission called Dear Moon. I actually registered. Just Google Dear Moon. It's supposed to be by late 2023. 1 million people registered to go 1 week with Elon Musk, or maybe not him, but on his Starship and the Japanese artist. 1 million people, and there are 5 phases of selection, because obviously with 1 million people and there are only 10 spaces available on the Starship, they have to select. I just passed the first stage. Let's see if I pass the second and maybe the third. I don't think I will make it to the final 10, but I am on the run. But the point, again, is that there are 1 million people who want to go on this mission, or at least said that they would be happy to participate. Also, there was a similar idea to go to Mars. It was called Mars One project, to go on a reality show to Mars, to planet Mars, and also hundreds of thousands of people registered. I don't recall the number. Maybe it was also close to 1 million people. Anyway, humans, we are explorers. We are discoverers. And it all began in Africa, where we evolved. We evolved in Africa. We are all Africans. All of us are Africans. So, Azam, you are African. Anton, you are African. I am African. I am African. Very proud to be African from the earth. Anyway, so our ancestors left Africa about 100,000 years ago to colonize what is called today the Old World, Europe, Asia, even Australia. And then some of them came from the Bering Strait in Siberia and Alaska into the Americas. That was the first migration, human migration from Africa to the Old World. And the second migration was with the rediscovery of the America by the Spanish in 1492, Christopher Columbus. That opened the encounter between the new and the old world, America, the new world, and the old world. That was the second human migration. The third one is beginning now. It's beginning on missions to go to the moon, to go to Mars, even if it is very few people, because it will be few people, because it is expensive and it is not fun. You know, going to Mars is less fun than going to Antarctica. And there are very few humans going to Antarctica. So eventually very few humans will go to Mars. But anyway, we explore, we will discover. The future is full of opportunities. And we humans like to dream, like to imagine, like to create, like to conquer. And some humans will go. And I plan to go, but not indefinitely, you know, because until we terraform Mars, until we change from the red planet into a blue-green planet, which is called terraforming, forming like planet Terra, planet Earth. And that will take some time until Mars becomes habitable or better habitable, like our planet here, our home base, planet Earth. In any event, I just want to point to the incredible possibilities, because this is truly the third human migration, and it will change everything. Like when humans left Africa, or when we rediscovered the Americas, the new and the old world, and now we are going outside our little planet. And this will be even more radical, more radical. Actually, this is so radical. If we put it in biblical terms, there is a very famous passage in the Bible when Jesus Christ walked on water. If you remember walking on water by Christ, well, walking on Mars will be more radical than walking on water. Walking on Mars will change everything. We will see how small our planet is, how small planet Earth is, and how there are billions, if not trillions, of other planets. And we might even discover life on Mars. A small life, bacteria, but we might discover bacteria or even a virus. Maybe COVID 2025 will be discovered on Mars. We don't know. But anyway, it's an incredible future. We need to be open to the future. Our eyes, our minds, our brains. It's fascinating. Azam, Anton, we need to discover and to create and to imagine.
No, I truly believe that. As you know, I'm a space enthusiast. I'm a space fan, and a believer in space discovery. And I want to be also a Martian for sure. What do you think that would happen? Because it all comes from the human's curiosity, imagination, and the lack of fear, or just, you know, kind of like being so brave. But what do you think that once we become kind of like omnipotent, or I would say like half, you know, intelligence with empowered with AI, what will happen to our curiosity? Because we would have everything, and it would be the state of comfort. It would be a comfort zone, because we know everything, and we wouldn't thrive, and we wouldn't, you know, kind of work really hard. What would happen to that curiosity and imagination?
Well, like the Martian, or the real Martian, Elon Musk, I think every time we answer a question, there are more questions. You know, there is so much we don't know about the universe, so much we don't know about planet Mars. Actually, there is so much we don't know about our own planet. We know very little about the oceans. Some scientists say that we know less about the surface of the oceans than we know about
But
the
the
moon.
space. Exactly.
So imagine we don't know about our planet. Also, we keep on discovering new life forms and immortal life forms. For example, we know there are certain organisms on our planet that are immortal. The immortal jellyfish, some hydras, some medusas, they are biologically immortal. And this is a relatively recent discovery of the last few decades. We also know there are immortal cells. Germ cells, the germ cells that make in women eggs and in men sperm, they are also biologically immortal. This means that they do not age. They can die, of course, and they die. If the body dies, the germ cells in our bodies die because the body has died. But if you take them out, they can live indefinitely outside because they don't age. Just like cancer. Cancer is truly fascinating because cancer discovered how not to age. And that is why today we know that cancer is biologically immortal from the point of view that it does not age. Cancer cells discover how not to age. And if cancer, who didn't go to university, who didn't go to school, discover how not to age, we will discover that. You know, I am an engineer from MIT, and if I know if something works in nature, we will be able to understand it and to copy and to do it better, So we know immortality is possible because it already exists in nature. It exists in nature. Immortal cells, good ones, germ cells, bad ones, cancer cells, immortal organisms, hydras, immortal jellyfish, medusa, etc. And even more interesting, and also very few people know this, bacteria, which are the first life forms that evolved on our planet, are biologically immortal. Incredible. Bacteria do not age. The ones that divide symmetrically and have a circular chromosome, because chromosomes in bacteria are circular, not in all of them, but in the original, in the first bacteria, they are circular chromosomes, and they have no end and no beginning. They have no telomeres. That is why they don't age. So bacteria, the first bacteria, are biologically immortal. So listen to this, because this is very deep. Life on our planet for the first 3 billion years, when we only had bacteria, was immortal. Life here on Earth was immortal. So I am hoping that we will discover immortal bacteria on Mars. And it could be fantastic. It could be that we will find a planet, Mars or another planet, where there is life, but there is no death. There is no death, or there is no aging, at least. Death will always be there. Imagine a comet crashes against the planet, there is death. Yes. But no aging, no aging. And this is possible. And in our planet, there was life, but no aging for 3 billion years.
Well, this is fascinating. My last question would be, with all these amazing research technology and moving forward as fast as we can, there's so much discussion over ethics and even CRISPR technology. It raises a lot of criticisms when it is applied to human genome or humanity. What do you think of that? And is it a hurdle?
Actually, this is a very important point, and I like that you are covering the ethical issues. In fact, my book, The Death of Death, has a subtitle, which is the possibility of biological immortality and its moral defense, its ethical defense. Why? Because the most suffering today in the planet is caused by aging and death. In the advanced world, over 90% of the people die of what we call today age-related diseases, like cardiovascular diseases, dementia, Alzheimer's, cancer, diabetes. All of these are age-related diseases. And if we stop aging, there will be no cardiovascular diseases or Alzheimer's or Parkinson's. All of these are diseases of aging. So, and remember, 90% of the people die of this, even in the poorest country. In the poorest country, life expectancy is already over 50 years of age. Anywhere in Africa, for example, anywhere in the poorest places is over 50 years of age. And they die of aging too. Of course, there is malaria. Of course, there is HIV/AIDS. Of course, there is terrorism. Of course, there are religious wars. Of course, there are wars in general, and so on and so forth. But percentage-wise, important thing, in percentage numbers, even in the poorest places, over half of the people die of aging. So with wars, terrorism, climate change, malaria, AIDS, and all of that together are less than aging. So what is the number one tragedy of humanity today? Aging. So that is actually why the first human right in the Human Declaration of Rights, human rights from the United Nations, is the right to life. That is the number one human right, the right to life. Why? Because life is the most important thing, the most precious things. Therefore, if we want to be ethical, if we want to be moral, we have to work toward human rights, beginning with the most important, which is the right to life. So this is very ethical, this is very moral. Also, to eliminate the major cause of suffering in the planet. And of course, there are many sufferings. I will not say there is no malaria. I actually had malaria twice. I know it's pretty bad to have malaria. And there is HIV, and there is terrorism and wars and climate change. All of that is true. But percentage-wise, I repeat, aging is the number one enemy of humanity. And the beauty of that—
It's a disease, is it?
There's
a discussion that it is a disease.
Yes, indeed, Azam. Indeed, we say that aging is a disease. In fact, is the mother of all diseases. Because if we stop aging, we stop all the old age diseases, the age-related diseases, like I mentioned, cardiovascular problems, cancer, Alzheimer's,
dementia, Parkinson.
Absolutely. So all of those are age-related diseases. There are also some other infectious diseases, like we talked about malaria, HIV, COVID-19. COVID-19 is also an infectious disease, but also infectious diseases affect and kill more people who are old. That is what we are discovering with COVID-19. You have, if you are 10 years of age, you will most likely not die of COVID. But if you are 90 years of age, you will most surely die of COVID if you get it. So all diseases are related to aging. Aging is the common enemy of humanity. And this is the beauty. This is the beauty. The enemy of humanity are not robots, or are not the Chinese or the Americans or the Russians, or even the Martians. No, the Martians are not the enemies of humanity, or climate change, or malaria, of HIV, or COVID. COVID-19 is not the enemy of humanity. The main enemy, the enemy of all of humanity, is aging and death. So the moral thing to do is to stop aging and death. And that is what I'm doing with my book. Highly recommended, publishing in other languages. And I hope you enjoy this, because life is beautiful, and more life will be more beautiful.
Definitely. Any last keynotes? And Anton, do you have any other questions?
I'm so excited to speak with Jose and to listen to everything. So I think we should help to spread Jose books around the world. I can contribute in some translation work. Happy to contribute.
Well, fantastic. My book is coming out in Russian in a month, by the way. I imagine you understand Russian as well.
Yeah. And Polish, I also can help with Polish language.
Beautiful. Because we truly live in incredible times. This is the best time to be alive. And I am serious. The best time to be alive, because We are between the last mortal generation and the first immortal generation. Isn't that incredible? I mean, if you want to die, that is okay. You can die, no problem. Until now, everybody died. But now, for the first time, we have the possibility to live indefinitely young, which is important. Indefinitely young, or for as long as you want to be young. If you want to age, no problem, you can age. If you want to die, no problem, you can die. But if you want to be young also, now, no problem. You can be young for as long as you want. And this is the beauty. The last mortal generation and the first immortal generation. So, where do you want to be?
Immortal.
Good.
I want to go to other planets.
Let's go. We have so much to see, so much, and not just Mars, but other planets, as you said, other life forms, other religions. Maybe they will have their own gods, a bacteria god or a virus god. Who knows?
Yes,
What do you
exactly.
What do you think about extraterrestrial civilizations? What do you think about aliens?
Actually, this is a beautiful question, and there is a big disagreement between the two founders of Singularity University, that Azam knows them when she was also at International Space University in 2009, which was also the founding year of Singularity University at NASA Ames in Silicon Valley. And the two founders, Ray Kurzweil, the Singularity, and Peter Diamandis, the X Prize Foundation, they basically have one major disagreement. And it's not a small disagreement, which is life in the rest of the universe. Ray Kurzweil used to think that there was life in other planets, in other parts of the universe, because the universe is so big and there are so many billions and trillions of planets that the possibility was very high. However, because of his belief in exponential technologies, and look at how humanity has changed in only 2 centuries of technology since the Industrial Revolution. We only have been industrial or technology oriented for only 2 centuries. So if we have done all of this in 2 centuries, and if we are colonizing Mars in the next few years, so if we continue, it would be incredible in just a few decades, not centuries, not millennia, in a few decades into the future. So Ray Kurzweil concludes that we must be, at this point, the first interplanetary civilization, he thinks. And maybe eventually even the only life forms, because also bacteria, even though they took 3 billion years to evolve on our planet from bacteria to other multicellular organisms like we are, it took 3 billion years. So he says we might be the first one at this stage. On the other hand, Peter Diamandis, he's very optimistic. He says the universe is full of life. And he believes that we can have a bacteria, at least on planet Mars, or that there were bacteria before Mars lost its atmosphere as well. So anyway, it's a very controversial topic. My 2 dear friends, Ray Kurzweil and Peter Diamandis, they disagree on that very special issue. Ray Kurzweil doesn't talk much more about life on other planets, except for us. And I like to say similarly, the first Martians will be humans. We will be the first Martians, or at least the first big Martians, because there might be little bacteria, or there were little bacteria on Mars. But the first big Martians will be us. Anyway, this is fantastic. We will discover in 5 years, we will be going to Mars, or 7 or 9. It doesn't matter. It is just a matter of time. It is
also possible that there must be some organisms or bacterials or viruses that can actually survive in the harsh environment like Mars, like in the different kind of like set of gravitational fields, different kind of like, solar rays and harsh temperatures, like really, really cold at night and really, really, really hot during the day. As you said, some of these bacteria are immortal, so it doesn't matter what kind of environment they live in. We have seen that there have been some, discoveries, for example, in the North Pole or at the bottom of the oceans, for example. But we still, as you said, there's not really enough research and discovery from the bottom of the oceans or marine life. But I do believe that we will find eventually some organisms that can actually live even in a harsh environment like Mars or even like other planets.
Absolutely. And that is the idea also of what we call extremophiles, because they live in our extremes. But for them, it might be normal. It might not be the extreme. Some of these life forms, as you mentioned, that live in volcanoes or at the surface, at the bottom of the oceans, et cetera, in the Antarctic cold. And there are many bacteria, there are viruses in those environments. So it might be possible that on Mars, there are still living bacteria. And they could not be extremophile for them. That could be their environment. We would be their extreme because we live on another environment, which for them would be extreme. So anyway, yes, I'm actually excited. But again, Ray Kurzweil, because he believes on this exponential trend so much that even if we had these extremophiles, after 3 billion years, which is not a short time, unless you are immortal, it takes time to move from bacteria to multicellular organisms and big organisms like us. But there are bigger organisms like dinosaurs. And they had a problem, as you know. Dinosaurs did not have a space program. That is why they were wiped out by a comet or a meteorite crashing near Cancun in Mexico.
Yes. And also, I mean, to cap that, what you said, just a footnote, there are places on, even like on Earth or even on Mars, that they can shield this harsh environments. And for example, like lava tubes or caves might be a really good examples. We've seen through archaeology, research and discovery on Earth that so much, things have actually survived, even like they have found their skeleton, after millions of years. So there must be something on other planets. They might have a different genome. They might have, kind of different structure. But definitely you're not alone. Even looking at the stars, they are live and they're active. Even plants and all these like flies or birds or animals. So there must be in another form.
Yes, perhaps. And talking about the lava caves, I was on the first Mars analog mission in a lava tube. In Spain. Actually, it was a cave, a natural cave. Northern Spain has thousands of caves. And in one of these caves, we had a habitat made of a geodesic dome where we simulated. Actually, we had an analog mission to be on Mars for 1 week. It was a really incredible experience. And we actually discovered a new amoeba. In that water, there was little water in that cave, and we discovered an amoeba that had not been identified yet in the planet. So we keep on discovering amoebas, bacteria, viruses. Exactly. So I agree with you. There might be life forms on other planets, and I think there will be. But my dear friend Ray Kurzweil, he thinks that if there is so, where are they? Because it takes very few years after we become our level of technology, only 200 years, really, that we have been technological. And in 20 years, we have a mission, a Mars colony.
Actually, I can't wait to read his latest book about the singularity. Is the Nearer, and also your book. Also looking forward to those all packages of knowledge that I can actually get and insert into my brain.